In the heart of Japan's most chaotic era, the Sengoku period, one man rose from obscurity to challenge the very fabric of society. He was called a fool, a demon, and a visionary. His name was Oda Nobunaga, and his ambition was to unite a fractured nation under his iron will. This is the story of the revolutionary daimyo who set Japan on a path to unification. Born in 1534 in Owari province, the young Nobunaga was far from a typical heir. He dressed bizarrely, behaved unpredictably, and associated with commoners, earning him the nickname the Fool of Owari. The traditional samurai elite looked down on him, seeing him as an embarrassment to his clan. But beneath this eccentric exterior was a mind of unparalleled sharpness and ambition. His unusual behavior was a form of intelligence gathering, a way to understand the world outside the stuffy confines of castle life. This early reputation caused many, including his own family, to dangerously underestimate him. After his father's death, the Oda clan was plunged into chaos. Relatives vied for control, and neighboring warlords saw an opportunity to swallow the weakened province. But the Fool of Owari was ready. In a series of swift and ruthless moves, he outmaneuvered his rivals, eliminated his own rebellious brother, and consolidated his grip on Owari. He proved that his unconventional nature masked a brilliant strategic mind and a will of steel. The moment that announced Nobunaga's arrival on the national stage came in 1560 at the Battle of Okahizama. The powerful warlord Imagawa Yoshimoto was marching towards the capital, Kyoto, with an army of over 25,000 soldiers. Under the cover of a sudden, torrential thunderstorm, he led a daring surprise attack directly on the Imagawa headquarters. Yoshimoto and his commanders were caught completely off guard, celebrating what they believed was an inevitable victory. In the ensuing chaos, Imagawa Yoshimoto was killed, and his massive army disintegrated. It was a victory against impossible odds, a lightning strike that sent shockwaves across Japan. The Fool of Owari was now a force to be reckoned with, a rising power with a reputation for audacity. Nobunaga's genius wasn't just in his battlefield daring, it was in his revolutionary approach to warfare itself. While other daimyos clung to the traditions of samurai honor and single combat, Nobunaga embraced the future. When Portuguese traders introduced the arquebus, a primitive firearm, most saw it as a noisy, unreliable novelty. Nobunaga saw its potential. He didn't just equip his soldiers with guns, he completely rethought how to use them. His masterstroke came at the Battle of Nagashino in 1575. He faced the formidable Takeda clan, renowned for its legendary cavalry. Instead of meeting their charge head-on, Nobunaga constructed wooden palisades and stationed 3,000 arquebusiers behind them. He organized them into rotating ranks. As one line fired, another reloaded, and a third prepared to fire. This created a continuous, devastating volley of lead that the Takeda cavalry simply could not break through. The age of the samurai charge was over, the age of disciplined, modern infantry had begun. Nobunaga proved that strategy and technology could overcome even the most storied martial prowess. He wasn't just winning battles, he was changing the rules of war. But Nobunaga's revolution extended far beyond the battlefield. He understood that military might alone could not unify Japan. He needed to reshape its economy and society. He enacted radical policies like Rakuchi Rakuza, which abolished the old trade monopolies held by guilds and temples. This unleashed free market principles, encouraging commerce and allowing merchants and artisans to thrive based on their skill, not their connections. Suddenly, wealth and influence were no longer the exclusive domain of the aristocracy. He also championed meritocracy within his own ranks. Traditionally, power and position were determined by bloodline. Nobunaga didn't care about noble birth, he cared about talent and loyalty. He promoted capable men from humble origins to positions of great authority. One of his sandal-bearers, a man named Toyotomi Hideyoshi, would rise to become his top general and eventual successor, a feat unthinkable in the old system. This practice not only gave him a pool of highly effective commanders, but also inspired fierce loyalty from those who owed their entire careers to his vision. However, there was a dark side to Nobunaga's ambition. His drive for control was absolute, and anyone who stood in his way was met with terrifying brutality. He viewed the powerful Buddhist warrior monks and their sprawling temple complexes not as spiritual institutions, but as political and military rivals. In 1571, he laid siege to the sacred Mount Hiei, home to the influential Ryakuji monastery. When the monks refused to surrender, Nobunaga ordered his army to burn the entire complex to the ground. They massacred thousands of men, women, and children without mercy. This act of shocking violence earned him the title Demon King of the Sixth Heaven. To Nobunaga, there was no room for divided loyalties. There was only absolute submission to his rule. With his military and economic power growing, Nobunaga marched on the imperial capital of Kyoto in 1568. He didn't depose the emperor, but instead used his authority to legitimize his own rule. He installed Ashikaga Yoshiaki as a puppet shogun, giving him a veneer of tradition while he consolidated real power. When the shogun later attempted to conspire against him, Nobunaga simply exiled him, effectively ending the Ashikaga shogunate that had ruled for over 200 years. His motto was Tenkafubu, which translates to the realm covered in military force or unify the realm by force. And he was living up to it. By the early 1580s, about half of Japan was under his direct or indirect control. The end of the Sengoku period seemed within his grasp. He was supported by a cadre of brilliant generals, including the loyal and patient Tokugawa Ieyasu and the resourceful Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Together, they formed an unstoppable force, methodically crushing one rival clan after another. The dream of a unified Japan was on the verge of becoming a reality. In the summer of 1582, Oda Nobunaga was at the pinnacle of his power. He was staying at Honnoji, a temple in Kyoto, with only a small retinue of guards, preparing to launch a new campaign. He felt secure, surrounded by the territory he controlled. But his greatest threat was not an external enemy, it was one of his own. His general, Akechi Mitsuhide, was ordered to march his troops to support Hideyoshi. Instead, in a shocking act of betrayal whose motives are still debated by historians, Mitsuhide turned his army around and surrounded Honnoji. Awakened by the sounds of battle, Nobunaga realized he was trapped. Outnumbered and with no chance of escape, he fought alongside his men before retreating into the burning temple to commit seppuku, the ritual suicide of a samurai. He was 47 years old. The man who had come so close to conquering all of Japan died in a blaze of fire and betrayal, his body never to be found. Oda Nobunaga's death plunged Japan back into temporary chaos. But his legacy was indestructible. He had shattered the old feudal order, broken the power of the traditional elites, and introduced military and economic innovations that would define Japan for centuries. He lit the torch of unification. His work was immediately carried on by his most able general, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, who swiftly avenged Nobunaga and continued the campaign of unification, largely completing it. After Hideyoshi's death, it was Nobunaga's former ally, Tokugawa Ieyasu, who would finally secure a lasting peace, establishing a shogunate that would rule Japan for over 250 years. But both men built upon the foundation that Nobunaga had laid. Oda Nobunaga remains one of the most compelling and controversial figures in history. He was a ruthless tyrant and a brilliant innovator, a destroyer of tradition and a builder of a new nation. He was the chaotic force that brought order, the storm that cleared the way for a new dawn. He never achieved his ultimate goal, but without the fool of a wary, the unification of Japan might never have happened. Thanks for watching. If you're fascinated by the dramatic history of the samurai and the unification of Japan, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories of the legendary figures who shaped the world. Let us know in the comments which historical figure you'd like to see next.